People in Japan are so, it's different than America, which makes sense. We're in Japan. People in Japan are so cool. They're just the coolest people you know. They're hilarious. They're some of the funniest people on planet Earth. They have the funniest jokes and they laugh at the funniest humor. Everyone's so artistic. It's so important to be artistic and to be stylish. It's so cool. Everyone in Japan, when they go to the grocery store, they dress up. You don't see anyone in sweats. You don't see anyone walking around like all ragtag. Everyone's clean. Everyone's good hygiene. No, everyone's really clean, and they all go to the grocery store all nice, and on the trains and everywhere, and they're so respectful. People in Japan respect the people above them, so everyone respects the grandmas and grandpas and the older people, the older folks. And you just feel like you're part of, not being from Japan, you feel like you're not part of the team, but then the longer you're there, you're like, hey, I'm part of the team. And it's so cool. When you wait for a bus stop, everyone is just squatting down and just standing there all quietly. On the trains, it's so quiet because everyone's respectful of each other and no one wants to bother the person next to them. The Japanese people are probably some of the coolest people I know. And I just fell in love with the people there and the culture there. And they're just so welcoming to people like me, people who aren't from there. And they might not be the most talkative people, but they definitely are willing to help, and they'll always help someone who needs help. And I always found that amazing about the people I met in Japan. It was just how willing people were to help me and to help me out when I was in need, whether it was food or a ride or just a friend. People in Japan are always willing to help each other, and they're so independent and self-serving, serving the people around them. It was just amazing. I think more people in the world should be like the people in Japan.
I quarter Japanese. My grandmother is from Japan, and I just wanted to kind of share some things about why I loved the Japanese people when I was there. When I was living in Japan, I was noticing a very different aspect of like just human life, like how people act. A very different culture. The way that people acted was very different from in the U.S. And that was sometimes a good thing and a bad thing, mostly good. You know, there were good things I really liked about both cultures, but they were obviously different, and they helped to contrast as well as complement each other. It helped me to be able to see my own culture better, more clearly. First off, Japanese people in general are very, very nice, very considerate. There's a term in Japanese called omotenashi, which is a really old concept, traditional concept of just exceptional hospitality. I used to find me and my companion being lost somewhere in the city, and we're trying to find some place, and I just asked some nice old man, and he wouldn't just point to me where to go. He would literally just walk all the way there with us to make sure that we got there. I was really amazed by especially the just every person I met, like whether inside the church and outside, they would often give us gifts. They would sometimes members would bring us rice just out of nowhere. Japanese people have a really a considerate attitude about them. They don't like to be a burden to people in general. And something I noticed that was also different from Western culture is we tend to be a little bit more frank in comparison in the U.S. About what we want to say. And Japanese are often very careful to, they're a little bit more passive. They don't want to be as frank and hurt someone's feelings, for example. And that was that considerate attitude was something I often really admired. But yeah, but like just this sense of I just feel a large warmness and kindness from Japanese at times that oftentimes didn't feel in the United States. So I really appreciated it.